I think it was Dave Rubin who coined that phrase, "I didn't leave the left left me." And I think there's actually a better way to put it. Jordan Peterson said something to the effect that our society doesn't know when the left goes too far. We know when the right goes too far. We don't know when the left goes too far. And that means a lot. We have a story here from Bridget Fatassi. I don't know how to pronounce anybody's names, apparently, so I apologize for pronouncing your name wrong. But it's called An Open Letter to the Democratic Party. The days of buffet-style politics are no longer allowed. Basically, Bridget writes how she used to be a liberal Democrat and now is a registered independent, but she's not a Democrat anymore. And so I started thinking about, what does it mean that the left left you? And the reality is, it didn't. It didn't go anywhere. Listen, I was talking recently to somebody who is far left, Antifa type, that I still kind of am friends with, believe it or not. A lot of people don't seem to believe it. And I said something to the effect of, what happened to the left? And I was told that I didn't understand. They haven't changed. They've just gained more power and don't need us anymore. That's basically it. So here's the point I want to make about not knowing when the left goes too far. The Democratic Party has never put a hard stop on the left going too far. They've allowed it to grow and fester within the party on the left, and it's gotten so big now that Nancy Pelosi can't even fight back, and thus we get everything we saw today with the transcript and her, the other day, her calling for impeachment, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster because Republicans knew at a certain point we can't allow certain behavior, and society as a whole easily got rid of it. Today, something different happens. You have moderates, the right, independents like Bridget, telling the Democrats, enough, stop. They won't. They allow the emergence of the left-wing identitarianism and woke outrage and cancel culture. Well, you know what? Fine. The left didn't leave. It allowed this infection to grow to the point where the smart people have left it. So listen. Imagine like there was an American left and the small faction of far leftists were growing and growing, and the left never told them to stop. Hey, partly my fault. Because I was right there alongside many of these people during Occupy Wall Street. And of course, I've always had my opinions, and I've always pushed back. And in January of 2012, I have an interview where I openly condemn black bloc violence, what we call today, Antifa. But a lot of people said nothing, stood side by side, and said we must respect a diversity of tactics. That's how they say it. Do the Republicans say that? No. The Republicans and the right just get rid of bad actors and tell them to get out. It's too bad the left didn't realize this before it was too late. So it's not so much the left left you. It's that something different is taking over the left and pushing out the sane, rational individuals. So I want to read the story from Bridget and kind of, give you my thoughts and opinions. Very similar in a sense to how she describes things, but let's just read. It's from The Spectator. She writes, "Dear Democrats, I'm mad at you. I was raised a die-hard, bleeding-heart liberal. My grandmother was an Irish Catholic New Englander who worshipped JFK almost as much as Jesus. My dad and his 9 siblings sang for the Kennedys at Hammersmith Farm. For decades, I was a loyal regular at your bar until suddenly you started ignoring me. You took my support for granted and dismissed my concerns, focusing instead on courting the young city hipsters with their scooters and their designer weed and their craft beers. You began overlooking pragmatic moderates and catering to loud extremists who favor rewriting the Constitution and accelerating your lurch towards socialism." I love this analogy, Bridget. It's amazing because I imagine in my head a perfect picture of what's happening. Imagine this. Every day you wake up, you go down the street to a local diner, you order a coffee, and there's, Jim Bob behind the counter saying, "What can I get you?" He's cleaning his glass, and he's like, "Yeah," and he starts getting you your food. And then one day, some young people come in. And so the management says, "Hey, young people like, avocado toast and deconstructed grilled cheese," however you do that. I'm kidding, but you know what I mean? Like these weird food trends. All of a sudden now, you start recognizing that more and more of this shop is being overtaken by these young hipsters riding around on scooters, ordering weird food that you quite honestly think is weird. You're like, I don't, what is this? All you wanted to do was sit down at your restaurant, enjoy your meal like you always have. But times have changed. The problem is, for some reason, the management at this bar thinks young hippies have money. They don't. The analogy here is that they don't vote. They're not going to vote for you. They're not going to support you. So now you have this guy at the bar being like, oh man, all these young people riding scooters, I can get their business. Start offering up a ton of wacky products. Some people come in and buy them, but for the most part, they don't. And he can't understand why he's going out of business now. And you're sitting here going, Jim, come on, man, listen to me. You got to get back to selling, chicken and rice. Now, you can't sell this deconstructed avocado toast, which is like just plain bread and slice and a whole avocado. You need to actually do, they don't. And that's what's happening. Business is not a booming. People aren't coming in. They're not being attracted to this. Jim Bob behind the counter thinks he's catering to the millennials, but the millennials hate his guts. And so he tries pandering to them like Joe Biden. Doesn't work. Eventually, you start ignoring. You start getting ignored. You're that regular and you're like, I want to order. You go somewhere else. You're walking out down the street, you're hungry, and there across the street is, Crazy Jim's. He's also named Jim. Crazy Jim's megaton burger extravaganza. And there's a big portly chef fellow wearing a MAGA hat, and he's like, come on over, have a burger. And you're like, I don't know, man. I've never been big on like the massive double bacon cheddar. No, don't you fret about it. Come on in, we'll have a conversation. You see, that's a great analogy. I just wanted to do that. That was awesome. Anyway, but it really is a great analogy in that, in a desperate attempt to cater to an expanding market, one they think will vote for them but won't, they end up ignoring those who they actually need to get to vote for them. And then when these people leave the store confused and hungry, they're like, what can I do? Right across the street is that big fellow with that barbecue grill and that double cheddar, double bacon, slopped with mayonnaise and barbecue sauce and all the crazy Chipotle, everything. It's massive, and he's like, come on down. And he throws you a beer, you crack it open, and that's what the Republicans have been doing. Bridget writes, so in 2016, feeling politically homeless, I dropped my party affiliation. How did this happen? How did I go from being a lifetime Democrat to a registered independent? I am far from alone. Why don't you Democrats seem to care? Let me do this again. Someone like Bridget, she didn't walk out of that restaurant and go to the big double bacon barbecue joint. She walked out and said, I don't want to eat like this. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm sitting at this restaurant with the Democrats, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man. I'll get a chicken, grilled chicken Caesar or whatever. They start going crazy. They start ignoring me. They start offering up weird food I don't want. So I eventually leave. I'm standing outside, hungry. And across the street is unhealthy food that I personally don't like. It's fine in moderation. It's not, you can eat it. It's not bad. It's not that bad. The media wants to tell you that if you eat it, you'll die, but it's not that bad. So I might, walk over there and, give a wave and try an appetizer. But for the most part, I'm not interested in sitting down at the restaurant because I really still just wanted a grilled chicken Caesar. And there's my food analogy for being politically homeless. People like me and Bridget standing outside of that once great diner, now just confused with nowhere to eat. Now, there are small third-party, candidates, which is appealing. So we walk over to a food cart and get some falafel or something. But let me read on. I love that analogy. I hope you enjoyed it. Like most Americans, I developed my politics through osmosis. You absorb what you grow up around. I call this unexamined position factory settings. Factory settings are the default beliefs installed when you were a child. Quote, I grew up in a conservative home and so I vote Republican. Or I hate the Yankees because I'm from Boston. As a young person, I could spout Democratic Party lines verbatim. I didn't care all that much. Prior to 2015, I viewed politics as something that only affected the very rich and the very poor. I wasn't dependent on the government and tax cuts didn't benefit me. The winner of any election had very little influence on my life. I worked as a waitress, too busy living paycheck to paycheck. I felt just like another cog in the wheel. For most of the 20 years in which I've been able to vote, I've kept my head down and voted Democrat because I believed they were the party of the people, and I was told Republicans were evil my whole life. So she basically goes on to say that eventually, where does she say? The approved message. She says, I subscribed to what I call the approved message, a sort of right think that meant you were one of the good guys, a Democrat. It made for a simpler life. Now, hold on. That wasn't incorrect. There was a point where the Democrats were sane and reasonable, and there was a point where the Republicans were censorious and moralistic. But times have changed. Trump especially, came with the change. I don't think he created it, but he came with that wave. There was a point, and we've pointed out where the right was saying, oh, hey, this is immoral. We can't do this. They oppose same-sex marriage. There was the video. Even Trump recently was saying video games and violence and things like that. Okay, so the point is, it's not like the right has been perfect. They have not been. But whatever happened to the Democrats has resulted in regular people going across that street to that barbecue joint And now all of the cool people are not in that diner anymore. So it's not that the right has improved. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The right has improved by attracting rational people. As the left continues to go insane, the right easily ropes in with that hand wave and a beer a lot of moderate individuals who help make the party, make the right more moderate. I'm sure a lot of people who were, very conservative and ended up watching Jordan Peterson moved a little to the center, moved closer a little bit. I've heard stories about people who are alt-right who watched Jordan Peterson, moved closer to the center. You see, that's what's happening. There is the sane and rational, conversations and actual talk of solutions is appealing to a lot of people. So I don't know why, but it's like, I don't know, it's a generational thing. Something happened with the right where they've been pulled into a position where they've been a bit more moderate. And as much as the left will try to claim that they're not, look at Fox News, bringing on Donna Brazile, for instance. Even Trump is complaining about Fox News, hosting Bernie Sanders. That's right. There's an opportunity here for the right to become, I guess, how she viewed the Democrats in the past, the good guys. I don't think it's necessarily the right way to look at it, but I understand. I do try to keep these short, so I'm going to wrap this up soon, but I just want to stress, it's not that Republicans are the good guys. It's that the Democrats have lost leadership, they've fractured, and they've allowed radicals to take over. Radicals who offend most people with their calls for violence and their irrational actions. Given the only alternative being moderates and Republicans, then yes, a lot of politically homeless people will find themselves sitting at the dinner table with people they don't really agree with on a lot of policy. But this is better for everybody, to the detriment of the left. So anyway, I thought it was a great op-ed from Bridget. She put it out today from The Spectator. And so seeing that I feel similarly, I thought it'd be fun to do a little analogy. But I really, really do dig that scooter analogy. It's craft beers and weed. The problem is, as South Park puts it, hippies don't have money, right? So you try to cater to these young people. They're not going to vote. Stick around. I got a couple more stories coming up in a few minutes. I will see you all shortly.